What's up, y'all? Welcome back. A Fitness Live every Sunday, 6 a.m. Today we're talking about muscle atrophy or muscle loss and how long you can go before you start to lose muscle.
Yeah, this was actually spawned by one of our subscribers. You had asked the question last week based on our live about how long can you go without working out before you start to experience muscle loss. And we thought that was such a great topic that we wanted to do an entire live session centered around that.
Right. So number one, don't take time off. Right? Right. Consistency is key. However, life happens.
Absolutely.
Injuries happen, surgeries happen.
Pregnancies
happen.
You name it, stuff happened. All right, so before we kind of get into that topic and how long you can go, let's talk a little bit about what does it mean when you say to lose muscle? I think a lot of times when people are talking about this, they're actually talking about two separate things. One is the loss of strength, and then two is the actual loss of muscle mass. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And they're two different things. They're not exactly the same.
Yeah, people kind of think of them as interchangeable, but they're not. Just because someone has, really large muscle doesn't mean they're extremely strong and have that strength, and vice versa. I've seen some really tiny people be extremely strong. I'm one of them.
So have I. Go to a powerlifting meet.
Oh, absolutely.
There's weight classes. Some of them guys weighing 170 pounds are extreme.
Yeah, one of my favorites is called like the human ant, and it's just extraordinary the amount of weight this guy can pick up. So two separate things. So when you're talking about, worrying about losing muscle mass when you step away from the gym, just think about which one are you truly talking about there.
Muscle mass or muscle strength?
Right, exactly. All right, so let's get into what are some of the factors that impact the loss of muscle mass, because I think there's a few different things that can contribute towards that.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, and James already touched on it a little bit, it has to do with how frequently and how consistently you go to the gym and that you lift.
Right. If you're a novice and you've been lifting for 3 weeks and you take 3 weeks off, guess what?
You're starting over.
You just lost everything.
Absolutely. And then with that comes also your fitness level, which those two are kind of correlated. I mean, you would think that as you were consistent and going to the gym frequently, you'd be a little more of an advanced lifter, but not necessarily, because I guess it all depends on what you're doing at the gym every day. But in general, the more advanced you are as a lifter, the more time you can step away and recover from it, as James was alluding to.
Absolutely. I mean, you got 20 years in the gym, you're not going to lose your muscle as fast as, even 2 years in the gym.
Absolutely. So time does matter. That's for sure, and skill level. And then last one, this one's an interesting topic, is just age. As we age, our ability to gain and retain muscle reduces. I mean, it's just a factor of life, unfortunately.
It is a factor of life.
Absolutely.
I'm not a spring chicken myself. I know what it's like to get older. I know what it's like to lose some speed, some agility. I still got my strength for now, but like I said, we're getting old, and the older you are, the harder it is to keep your muscle mass.
Yeah, I also think it's harder to come back each time if you're taking an extended period of time off the older you are. However, if you've been lifting over, 20 years, maybe not, but it's still not without challenge. Physiologically, like, we're different as we age. Hormones are different. Everything's different. So it's definitely a factor that you have to take into consideration.
And that's a good point. Once you stop, it's hard to start. So again, don't stop unless you absolutely have to.
Definitely. All right. So how long can you go? That is the question we're here to talk about. So I'm no expert on this. So when I speak to this, it's really just speaking from my own experiences and what I've witnessed with my clients and the studying and research that I've done. But in general, I have found the average person can go about 2 to 3 weeks, mainly the 3-week period of time before they're going to start to atrophy that muscle.
Agreed. And if you do some research, it's pretty much universal, 2 to 3 weeks. But I can tell you personally, After about 4 days, I feel like I'm losing muscle. It's probably psychological.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, literally 4 days of not working out, and I feel like I'm losing muscle. That's why mentor style never worked out for me.
Interesting. I also think someone that's a more seasoned lifter, they're probably truly not losing muscle mass until the 4-week period. Some of what I think maybe even James is talking about is you start to notice like your cardiovascular endurance just isn't there. So if you're doing high intensity style workouts, there is a cardiovascular aspect to that. And you'll start to notice right away that you're kind of out of shape in that regard as you step away for that 2-3 weeks. Yeah. And that's noticeable.
Absolutely.
In fact, I would say that that's probably noticeable after just a few days. And I've seen that. Actually, I have some clients, they're also runners, and I've seen them step away for a couple months from running. And when they try to go back to it, oh my goodness, it's like starting over. They definitely, it's not something they just spring back into right away,
Sure.
At least not from the cardiovascular standpoint.
There's also a genetic factor. I mean, people are genetically more muscular than others. They're going to hold on to their muscle more than others.
Right.
I'm genetically a very skinny person. That's why after 4 days, I'm going, oh my goodness, I'm losing size, right? So genetics plays a huge factor in that as well.
Absolutely. And then also if you're stepping away, you kind of got to consider the diet aspect, right? So if you're filling your muscles with all that glycogen and then something with the diet kind of changes at the same time that you step away from the gym, yeah, you're not going to be feeling as pumped up as you were before. So that might have part of something to do with it as well.
I mean, if you're at a caloric deficit and still working out, it's hard to maintain your muscle mass. So if you're at a caloric deficit and not working out, you're really going to be hard to maintain that muscle mass.
Absolutely. So yeah, in general, about 3 weeks. So whatever it is, maybe it's an injury, you got something going on, you can go usually about 3 weeks. But again, we recommend not really doing that.
Work around your injury.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always something.
If you hurt your knee, you can still do upper body. You hurt your shoulder, you can still do lower body.
Right.
I mean, just work around it.
Absolutely. All right. So how do you actually measure that loss? How do you quantify it? Does it matter to quantify it? I mean, I think there's a couple different things you can do.
There's a few.
Yeah. So one of the ways I like is just like the perceived level of effort. So you go in and you lift and you're like, hey, last time I was cranking out these 15 push-ups, it was nothing. And now, hey, all of a sudden I'm at like a level 8 or 9 in terms of how difficult it is. Well, then that's telling me a couple things, like either I've lost some strength or maybe I've lost some muscle mass. So it's, a way to actually gauge it, kind of where you're at anyway. And
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one, but that's more kind of related to the strength side of it, not necessarily the muscle loss side.
My favorite way to tell is your clothing. If your shirt's getting tight around your belly and getting loose around your arms, you're doing something wrong. You're losing muscle, you're gaining fat.
Yeah, so the clothing's a way. You could do measurements with a tape measure. Pictures. One of the things I don't like about that, if you are going to do like clothing method or tape measure, definitely take the pictures because you might be gaining body fat. And so you might not see the muscle loss on your arm if you're gaining fat on the arm at the same time.
Sausage arms.
Sausage arms. But if you really do care and you really want to know, taking a measurement like a DEXA scan, like a body fat assessment tool would help. But you would need to have that in the first place. And so
I would assume if you care that much, you're not going to take off unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
By the way.
Absolutely. All right. So let's say, stuff happened. You took the time off, how do you minimize that loss? And I think we touched on it. Like, number one, do what you can. Just because you're going out for surgery or having a baby, got a work trip, like, you don't have to do nothing. You can still do something usually.
Yes. I mean, I trained a pregnant woman up to 3 days before she had the baby. I literally trained her in the gym. 3 days later, she had the baby. Now, 3 weeks later, she was still her post-baby weight. So that should tell you how hardcore this woman was. But that's how she did it.
Absolutely.
She killed it.
Absolutely. I know back in the fall, I had to have my gallbladder removed. And so leading up to that, I definitely went super hard in the gym. I wanted like every ounce of strength and muscle that I could possibly get. And then after, I was required to take about 8 weeks, I think it was, off from the gym. And that was actually difficult. I did end up gaining some body fat, unfortunately, but I still did what I could in terms of lifting. In fact, as soon as the doctor cleared me, I was on that treadmill working out again. I might have been walking really long laps around my building at work, but don't tell my doctor before that. But I definitely did what I could or what I was allowed to do within that period of time. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
I myself just had surgery Monday.
Yeah.
I worked out once this week. It was a half-ass workout. I could have done a lot better, but I'm not at 100%. I didn't want to push it. It felt good to move. It felt good to get the workout. Yeah. But I'm sure I didn't do any hypertrophy. I might have prevented atrophy. But I couldn't give 100%, and I still can't. I got another week or two recovery before I can.
So, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. Like, so maybe someone's going on a 14th-day vacation. They're like, yeah, all I got's that crappy hotel gym or cruise ship gym. They're like, why bother? But even if you're just doing body weight exercises or anything, you're still performing those movements. You're still kind of working that tissue. So it will minimize how much muscle mass and strength that you're actually going to lose. So it's highly, highly recommended. The other thing's probably nutrition related.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So we touched on it.
Calorie deficit.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things you're going to want to make sure is that your protein still remains high. You're still getting enough calories. And that's tricky, right? Because if you're not doing cardio, you're not lifting, you don't need as much food. But at the same time, that's not, hey, let's undereat to try to compensate. Like your body needs fuel to maintain that muscle mass.
Yeah, you have a metabolic rate. And the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolic rate is. That means you're burning calories faster, even when you're sleeping. So if you're not feeding them calories back into your body, they're going to take away from something, and it's probably going to be your muscles.
Absolutely. And, your body doesn't want to give up that muscle, but if you have a lot of muscle mass, it requires that energy to keep it. So like James said, it's definitely going to go through it if you're not feeding it appropriately. So definitely do what you can with whatever resources you have, whatever you're, able to do, and then make sure your diet's on track during that time period, and you should be okay.
Absolutely. And get through it. Like I said, I had surgery Monday. I worked out once this week. I plan on working out today. And I'm going to get back on a regular schedule next week. I'm not 100%. I can't go 100%, but I am going to go do something to maintain my muscle mass. I know I'm not going to build anything for the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to maintain what I have.
Absolutely. All right. So let's say you took that hiatus. What about regaining it? What are your thoughts on that, James?
Get back to it as quick as you can. Get consistent as quick as you can, and stay on your diet as quick as you can. If you're coming back, you're at an advantage compared to somebody coming off the couch. You got muscle memory, you got satellite cells, you got things that beginners do not have. So you will gain it back quicker than somebody who's just coming off the couch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Down on that kind of neuromuscular level, you've created those pathways for how that muscle's to fiber, and your body doesn't forget that. I mean, just think, for instance, like if, you haven't ridden a bike in like 5 years. In fact, this is going to be me next week when we go downhill mountain biking in West Virginia. I haven't been on a bike in 2 years, but your body just remembers how to do it. It's not something. It's like riding a bike. So same thing applies to this. You've spent all that time kind of establishing that neuromuscular efficiency. You're not going to lose that rapidly. So you'll still remember.
Yeah. Think about that for a minute. How many times did you fall learning how to ride a bike? And now you're just jumping on it and going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean? Absolutely. Another thing, I think just don't beat yourself up. I mean, a lot of people get real down on themselves. They're not where they used to be, but just let that go and just start wherever you are. Yep. You don't have to be what you once were.
Beating yourself up isn't helping anything.
No, absolutely not.
You can feel bad, you can feel guilty, but use that as fuel to get going again. You know, if you just say,
Right.
oh, boo-hoo, and don't do nothing, then that's a double whammy. Why even say boo-hoo? If you're going to say boo-hoo, then do something about it, right?
That's right. And, I would say the majority of the time, from what I've seen with my clients, even Mike Menster talks about this, like you'll go in expecting not to be what you were. And then you will just be astonished at how quickly you will regain that. So as soon as I had that surgery done and I was able to go back to lifting, it took me maybe 4 weeks, not even, to get back to the strength level I was and pushing that weight. And I was just like, wow, I thought I was going to have to take an entire year to get back there. But that wasn't the case. It just fell into place. I was truly surprised by that.
That reminds me, I came across something in my research. It says, however long you take off, that time cut in half. That's what it's going to take for you to gain your muscle back. So if you took 2 years off, it's going to take you a year to get your muscle back. If you took 8 weeks off, it's going to take you 4 weeks to get your muscle back and your strength back.
Too bad it's not that way for losing body fat. That would be great.
Right?
All right. So I hope this video kind of clears that up. So just as a recap, we went through.
Don't take time off.
Don't take time off.
But again, things happen. She's had surgery. I've had surgery. Do what you can.
Yep, absolutely. We went through the different factors that come into play in terms of like how much muscle you would lose during an off period. Things such as how frequently and consistently you're going to the gym, how advanced of a lifter you were, and then the age.
Genetics.
Mm-hmm. From there, we kind of went into how do you measure that loss? Is that important? And I would say yes, no, depends on what your goal is. If you're a competitive bodybuilder or performance athlete of some kind, then that probably does matter because you want to get back up to optimal performance quickly.
As quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we went through kind of some ways to minimize that loss by, again, not taking time off, doing what you can, eating for that to compensate. And then, again, we went through how do you regain it? So hopefully that helps and keep those questions coming. We absolutely love it when you guys are engaging with us and asking us questions. We love answering that for you. So keep them coming for sure.
That's why this channel's here.
Yeah.
We're here to help. We're here for you guys. We want to help. We want to motivate. We want to educate. We want to help however we can.
Yeah, hopefully we can take our own experiences and share that with you and help you out there.
Yeah. Patricia said injuries and surgeries has definitely been a factor for me and a lot of people. It happens. Believe me, it happens. I don't know anybody that's been 20, 25 years without an injury or
absolutely
surgery.
Not, especially not a competitive athlete. And for those that don't know, Patricia Coates is from 88 Health and Wellness, our other kind of sister channel. So if you haven't already, definitely check it out. She's a corrective exercise specialist, weight loss specialist, and nutritional counselor. So she has really incredible tips that you won't find anywhere else. So definitely check it out.
We just got another question. How do I maintain muscle mass while cutting as a 15-year-old? That's a great question. At 15, your metabolism is ramped up. So you're going to have to eat. Even while you're cutting, I would cut very minimal at a time, maybe 100 calories a week.
Yeah.
And then check your weight, check your physique. 100 if you need to cut another 100 calories the following week, then do that. But at 15, you should be able to get pretty lean without having to cut too much stuff.
Absolutely. Definitely. Age plays a difference. How long you've been working out makes a difference too.
Yep.
So if you've not been working out very long, you probably, you're going to build that muscle and keep it, I would say, especially at your age.
Yeah. At 15, I can't imagine you've been working out for too long. So just make sure you keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop. Don't take breaks.
Yeah. And definitely look at the macros, make sure the protein's pretty high. It doesn't have to be astronomical, but you are cutting. So it is important during that time frame.
Keep your protein, amino acids high to maintain your muscle mass.
Yeah. Great question. Thank you for that.
Yes.
All right, y'all. I don't think I have anything else.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, we're here for you. If you have a question, just leave us a comment and we'll get to it.